Welcome back to the Indigo mini album tutorial series for ScrapNCreate. In this video, we will be decorating the front and back of page 3. Don't forget to head to ScrapNCreate.com to pick up all of your Indigo papers today. I'm going to start with this paper here. I'm going to cut 2 pieces that measure 1 inch by 4 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to place one piece here, and I'm going to line this up with this line between the photo mat and the piece that's holding it on. So that will create that uniform border between those pieces. I'm going to flip my page sideways to make this easier to see. I'm going to take my second piece and place it here, right next to the score line, so that there will be a uniform border when I place my paper on top of my flap. Next, I'm going to take this piece from the 8x8 collection. I'm going to cut this in half to make 4-inch pieces. From these 2 pieces, I'm going to trim 1/8 of an inch off of the side, 1/8 of an inch off the top, and 1/8 of an inch off of the bottom. Then for this piece, I'm going to trim 1/8 of an inch off of the opposite side. You'll know which side is correct because the hummingbird's nose is actually on this side, so don't trim that off or the photo or the picture will not be continuous. We're going to trim 1/8 of an inch off of the top and 1/8 of an inch off of the bottom. Then I'm going to take a piece of the gold metallic cardstock and I'm going to cut this to 2 pieces that measure 4 inches by 8 inches. I'm going to take one of each of these pieces and adhere them to the front of each of these flaps. Next, I'm going to take my decorative papers and I'm going to adhere them right into the center of my gold papers. And I want to make sure that I have the nose of the hummingbird here and I don't have my paper upside down. So this will be one continuous image. Next, I'm going to bring my flap down a little bit so you can see this. I'm going to add some adhesive to the center. I am cutting a piece of ribbon that's approximately 9 inches long, and I'm going to adhere about 1/2 inch to this flap, right in the center. Then I've taken this paper here from the 8x8 paper collection. I've cut 2 pieces of it. They measure 1 inch by 6 inches. And I am going to be adding these pieces, one at the top and one at the bottom. And then in the center, I have a white photo mat that measures 4 inches by 6 inches. And it is going to go right here in the center. So I'm going to adhere my top paper first, and then my bottom paper, and then my photo mat right in the center. Now that this is finished, we are going to actually go in here, and we're going to work on the middle spread next. So the first thing we need to do is add another piece of ribbon down at the bottom so that this will hold our page closed. So we're going to add this into the center of the page. Just place some adhesive and then cut another piece of ribbon approximately 9 inches and adhere that to the page. I have 4 photo mats that measure 3 inches by 4 inches. They're going to be configured like this, and we're going to cut 4 pieces for here. We're going to be cutting all 4 pieces from this paper, but we're going to be cutting them slightly different. So the first two are going to measure 7/8 of an inch by 4 inches, and we need them to be horizontal. So these pieces are going to go here and here. Then we're going to cut pieces vertically that also measure 7/8 of an inch by 4 inches for here and here. So I'm going to adhere this piece first, this piece, then these two photo mats. Then I'm going to adhere this piece, and these two photo mats. And then we're going to add another decorative element over this so you can't see the actual ribbon once we're finished. Next, we're going to work on these flaps. We're going to bring this same piece of paper in. I don't have a lot left. This is all that's left of the piece because I've used so much of it. I've cut 4 pieces that measure 2 inches by 4 inches. And these pieces are going to go on the top and the bottom. Now, because this flap is 4 1/8 of an inch, you want to make sure that you put your piece right up against that score line. Don't go into the score line, but just put it right next to it, because then you're going to have all of the border over here. And because we have this border here, it's going to be more uniform versus if our piece was shorter, this would be a bigger gap. So we're going to make that right up next to that score line so the page will still fold properly, but that score line will act as the guide for where to place your paper. Then I have 2 photo mats that are 4 inches by 4 inches that are going to go right in the center on both of the flaps. Now that all the papers and photo mats are placed on the page, we're going to add a few embellishments. So these were all cut from this sheet here, this sheet here, and this sheet here. So first I'm going to take my clock face. This is going to cover up my ribbon, so I'm only going to adhere this down here and on this section. So I am going to place my adhesive right on my page, and then I'm going to add just a little bit on this paper here, placing my clock just so that the edge of it is right at the edge of the paper as well. So that will cover the end of the ribbon, but the photos will still be able to tuck behind it. Next, I'm going to add my butterfly postage stamp up here. I'm only going to add adhesive to the top section of this one. And then I'm going to make sure to place all of that adhesive in that paper so that it's not on the photo mat. And then this butterfly, I'm only going to adhere this portion that's on the paper. So I'm just going to add my adhesive to the paper and then place my butterfly. Next, I have this flower here, and only the bottom part of it is going to be adhered to the decorative paper. And the same thing with this flower here, only this bottom section is going to be adhered down. Then I'm going to move this down. I've cut the blue dragonfly and only the bottom portion of it, so just a little tiny bit on the wings and then the tail. And I'm going to add it right here. Now, if you want to add more embellishments to your page, you are more than welcome to go ahead and do so. Once we're finished with these, we're going to flip these in. We're going to work on these sections next, one at a time. We're going to decorate the inside of both of these flaps identically, just mirror image. So first we're going to take the 8x8 paper like this. We're going to cut 2 pieces to 2 3/4 by 8 inches. Set one aside for now. We're going to work on one side at a time, and this is going to be adhered here. Now that I have the paper on the page, I'm going to add my adhesive to the flaps on this small flap over here, and I'm going to make this now into a pocket. Next, we're going to use the blue 12 by 12. We're going to cut 2 strips of this to 1 1/4 by 8 inches. Set one aside, and we're going to adhere the other one here to this front of the pocket. Next, I'm going to cut one photo mat to 4 inches by 6 inches. It's going to go into the center of the page, and then I'm going to cut 2 pieces of the blue paper to 1 inch by 4 inches, and these are going to go on the top and the bottom. So to start with this page here, I'm going to adhere the top and the bottom strips first, and then the photo mat, and then we're going to come back and add an embellishment. Now that the papers are on, I'm going to take one of the little clock faces from that fussy cut sheet, and I'm going to glue just the bottom section down here to the bottom of this decorative paper below the cardstock, or below the photo mat. We will add some mats and things to the pocket at the end, but we're going to flip over next and we're going to do the other side. So I'm going to bring in my piece, I'm going to adhere it down first, then I'm going to add my glue to make this into a pocket, then I will add this piece over top. So on this page, I have a 4 inch by 6 inch photo mat in the center. I have a 1 by 4 inch piece of the blue paper here, just like on the other one. So those are adhered down, the blue strips first, the photo mat second, and then I have this little gear piece that I'm just going to adhere down here at the bottom. So again, mirror image of the previous flap, just a little tiny bit different. Next, we're going to work on the photo mats for both of these pockets. I have several different mats to place in the pockets. So first are these 2 large cards. I'm going to leave them as is cut from the paper because I don't want to cut out any of this image. And they're the exact size that are going to fit into that pocket, so I'm not going to map them on anything. But what I am going to do, I have 2 white photo mats. These are cut to 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and one of these is going to go on the back of each of these larger cards, just like this. So they're going to be a little bit flimsier since they won't have that white cardstock, but that's okay because it will fit right in that pocket. So we're going to have 2 of those. Then we're going to cut these 2 images. These already have the corners rounded, so we're going to use the corner rounder as we make photo mats. We're going to cut 2 pieces of white cardstock to 3 inches by 4 1/4 inches. And then we're going to cut 2 pieces of the gold metallic paper to 2 3/4 by 4 inches. So then these will be layered together like this. I'm going to leave the backs plain, that way this can be used as a journaling card or as a photo mat, whichever the recipient would prefer to use it as. If you do want to make this a photo mat, you'll just need to cut a piece the same size as that gold metallic and place it on the back. Next, I have these 2 little tiny cards. They will be cut and then placed on the white cardstock, 2 1/4 by 3 inches. So you'll need 2 of those, but you'll also need 2 gold metallic papers cut to 2 inches by 2 3/4 inches. So these will then be layered together like this. Nothing on the back. Again, you can place something on the back if you want, but this can be used for journaling or a tiny photo. And then last, we have these 2 tags and then 2 pieces of ribbon cut to 4 inches. There are holes pierced in the tag, so I can place my ribbons in the top of the tag. So I'm going to put together all of these different pieces and then I'll come back and show you where to place them in the album. So now we have all of our cards made up. We're going to add them to this pocket. So I have my peacock card, that's a photo mat, I'm going to place right in here. Then I have my gold photo mat with the fire of the dragonfly. Going to place it in here. Then I have my The Key to Change is Letting Go of Fear mat. I'm going to place it here. And then I've got my blue tag and I'm going to place it in here. On the other side, I have my feather. Then I have Creativity Takes Courage. Then I have this little photo mat or journaling card. And then my little tag. So you can place these in your pocket however you want to do those. I've just layered them so that they're a little bit flatter so that they aren't all together. Then I'm going to close this. Then I'm going to close this. And I'm going to tie this. And then the last thing we're going to do is build up some embellishments on the front of this page. And then we'll be finished with this side. On this sheet here, there is a journaling card here that says, "A dream is a wish your heart makes." There is a butterfly at the top of it. So I fussy cut around that butterfly and then I added that butterfly to metallic gold paper and then I added chipboard to the back of it. You'll notice it's the same as this butterfly here. So we're actually going to adhere this piece right on top of the paper over where that butterfly is. So we're just making it dimensional. And I added a little tiny bit of a blue border around the butterfly when I fussy cut it from paper to make it a little bit larger since the image is actually a little bit smaller, so that it will actually cover the entire image on the paper. Then taking the rest of that card, I cut out the word dream. I backed the word dream on gold cardstock and then I put it on some of that chipboard as well. I have this piece from this paper here. It was here in the tag. We cut both of these out. So I have this piece. Then I have a metallic gold square. It's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I'm going to place this on the center of it. Now on the back side of this, I took a strip of this paper. We used this on the very first page. It's from the 8x8. It was just a leftover piece. I cut a piece down to stick right on this side of the back because it's going to hang over the page slightly. So when this is open, I don't want to see this. I want to see the pretty paper. So that and this I'm going to place together. This piece does not have any chipboard on it, so it's just the cardstock. And this piece is going to go down here. I'm going to overlap this down with this gold border just a little bit. It's just below the butterfly. So this is going to have adhesive on this entire section here. And then just a little bit into that blue paper as well. Then taking the tag that was next to this paper, I cut a piece of gold metallic to be a little bit larger as a border, and then I backed it on my chipboard. So I'm going to layer these pieces together. And next I'm going to adhere this piece down on top of the square. So you can place this in the middle. You can place it off center up here, however you want to place your image. I'm actually going to place mine offset. So I'm going to place my adhesive just on the one side of it. Actually, the whole thing can have adhesive because it's going to be adhered to the whole entire page. I was thinking this was chipboard. All right, so the whole entire piece has adhesive on it now. And I'm going to lay this down on the page. And then I'm going to take the word dream. It's been backed on that gold metallic and on a piece of chipboard, and I'm going to layer it right here. So now this is going to complete the page. The entire page is finished. If you want to add any more embellishments, you can, but this is where I'm going to leave my page. Next, we're going to move on to decorating the back side of the page. We're going to be decorating the back side of this page from the base outward. So we're going to be starting with this page here. And I have two photo mats that measure 4 inches by 4 inches. One of them is going to go here, even with the bottom of this flap, and one of them is going to go here, even with this top flap. I have cut these two images from the same paper, and they measure 2 3/4 by 3 7/8. I have cut 2 pieces of metallic gold cardstock to 3 inches by 4 inches. These are going to go here and here. In these little tiny spaces between those papers, I have little tiny strips of paper. These measure 1/4 inch by 4 inches. They are from that leftover strip from the very first page. It was blue with gold writing on it. This is the back side. So one of these is going to go here, and one of these is going to go here. Then at the top and the bottom of my page, I have a strip of paper that measures 1/4 inch by 8 inches. Now this is from the 8 by 8 paper. It is white with gold writing on it. So I have strips of this for other parts of the paper, for other parts of the page, but I'm going to bring one in just so that I can show you what it looks like. And this is what it looks like. So we're just gonna cut 1 or 2 strips of that on the blue side to 1/4 inch by 8 inches. One's gonna go up here at the top, and then one's gonna go down here at the bottom. Now, how I'm going to start with this, I'm going to actually start by placing my strips down. Then I'm gonna place my white photo mats. Then I'm gonna place these little strips. Then I'm gonna place my gold photo mats with that card adhered to the center. So I'm going to carefully apply all of these, and then I will come back and show you the next step. Now that we have all of the papers on the center section, we're going to work on the flaps. On these pieces, I'm actually going to cut all of them at once, and then I'm going to layer them together. Before I do anything, I'm going to remove my brad and take these apart. We will be building those photo mats up and then placing them back on the page. We're going to start with this back panel. We're going to cut 4 of these, 2 for each side. These are from the large, the 12 by 12 sheet that has the gold writing on it. And these pieces measure 5/8 of an inch by 7.5. 5/8 by 7.5. So these are going to go here and here. Then from the 12 by 12 paper, this is that gold striped paper and it's got some blue lines through it as well. We're going to cut 4 of these, 2 for each flap, and these measure 3/4 of an inch by 4 inches. So I've got 1 for each side of this flap. And then I have 2 white photo mats for each flap, so 4 total, 3 inches by 4 inches. And these are going to go in the center with a small space between them. So I'm going to adhere all of these on, and then we're going to build up these next ones. Now that I have all of the papers on, I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to pierce this hole from the back side, and then I'm going to come back through this way and make sure that I have that hole pierced. Next, I'm going to take my second or my middle mat. On this one, I have 2 pieces of that gold striped paper. They are 5/8 of an inch by 5 3/4 of an inch. So one is going to go here and one is going to go here. Then I have a photo mat that measures 4 inches by 5 3/4 of an inch, and it's going to go right here in the center. When you're cutting your pieces for your photo mat, don't forget to cut 2 strips of paper and 1 white photo mat for the other side as well. So you need 4 strips total and 2 white photo mats. Now, once you have your piece decorated, you're going to flip it over, pierce that hole, and then pierce it from the front side. And I'm just going to lay this on my page for now. Then I'm going to take my final flap, and I have 2 pieces of this blue and gold paper. It's the back of that 8 by 8 white paper with the gold print or writing on it. And these pieces measure 1/2 inch by 4 1/4 inches, and you'll need 4 of them, 2 for each photo mat. So we're going to place 1 at the top and 1 at the bottom with the 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch photo mat right in the center. Now that I have my mat decorated, I'm going to turn it over, pierce that hole from the back and then again from the front. And then I'm going to take my brad, and I'm also going to take the dragonfly little charm that came with my paper collection. So ScrapNCreate oftentimes will send these metal charms that match the collection. It's a really nice little addition to the papers. If you didn't purchase your paper on ScrapNCreate, or you just have different charms, or you don't want to do this, you don't have to. I'm going to place my brad down through the hole on the charm. Then I'm going to place it down through the hole on the first page, on the second flap, and then down through the flap in the album Then I'm going to open the prongs up on the back side. And I like to press down on these to open the brad as flat as possible and as tight as possible. So now I have my brad where it needs to be. I'm also going to take a piece of tape and place it right over top of those prongs just to secure those in place. You can use any kind of tape. I just have black masking tape, so that's what I'm going to use. So now we have our first set of flaps completed. I fussy cut the lock from the fussy cut sheet. I'm going to add this just to this corner down here, so only this tip will be adhered to the paper. So next I'm going to work on these flaps the same exact way as I did the first set. First, I have my 2 strips from the 12 by 12 paper. Then I have my 2 strips from the striped 12 by 12 paper and my 2 photo mats. So I'm going to adhere these on, and then I'm going to pierce my hole. I have my papers on and my hole is pierced for this one. So I'm going to bring in my second mat, and on this one I have 2 of the striped pieces. Ooh, that's the wrong mat. We're going to bring in the middle mat, and I've got my 2 striped pieces that go top and bottom, and then my large photo mat that goes in the middle. Once I have these on, I will go ahead and re-pierce that hole. I have my papers on, my hole pierced, and so now it's time to do the third photo mat. So I have a white mat for the center and my 2 strips of the blue paper for the top and the bottom. Then I'm going to re-pierce my hole, and then I'll come back and show you what I'm going to do with the brad on this side. I have all 3 of my mats done. In the little baggie full of the charms, I have this little lock one I'm going to use on this side. I'm going to place my brad down through the top and then down through each of these mats. Then I'm going to secure the prongs of the brad on the back side. And then flatten them out. And then I'm going to place a piece of tape over top of those. And then on this one, I have chosen the key, and I'm going to adhere this down here. So I'm actually going to add adhesive to the bottom part of this and down that strip so that I can adhere the whole thing to the bottom of this on the paper, and then the photo will still slide underneath that little top part of the key. So now we have our swiveling photo mats. They will turn so you can see them. Now, if you want to add more embellishments, you can add more to these other pages if you choose to do so, but I'm going to leave mine like this. Next, I'm going to start covering these flaps. So I'm going to place a magnet here for my closure. So it's going to actually sit up here. So I'm going to be doing that. To start, I have a piece of gold metallic cardstock that measures 4 inches by 5¼ inches. And it's going to go here centered with the belly band, not centered on the page. And then I have cut this card from the paper, and then I did trim this down so it will fit on this page. So this is trimmed down to just a little bit over 3 3/4 inch by 5 1/8 inch. And it's going to go over top my metallic cardstock, but I need to put a magnet in here first, so I'm not going to put that on yet. Then I have 2 pieces of the gold striped paper, but they are 2 different sizes. So the smaller piece measures 1½ inches by 5 1/4 inches, and it's going to go over here on this side. Then this second piece is 2 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and it's going to go over here on this side. So I'm going to first start by placing all of these pieces down on the page. So I went ahead and placed my magnet about 1 inch up from the edge, the white edge of this flap. So my magnet is placed between my metallic paper, and I'm going to place my card on top of it. So I'm going to place my piece. My head's probably going to be in the frame here, so don't mind my head for just a minute so I can get this lined up. All right, so I'm going to place my card down over top of the magnet, which will cover the magnet. And now we have the bottom magnet placed. I'm going to take my second magnet and just place it right on top of my first magnet over top of the paper. I'm going to close this flap, remove the backing off the magnet, and then I'm going to take my belly band and I'm going to close it, press down on that magnet, and place it so that it's in the correct position. So now I have my magnet under here. I'm going to leave this page like this. If you want to add any other embellishments to it, you can. Next, we're going to add our pieces to this page. On this one, this is from the 8x8 paper, 2 different sizes. First one is 1 3/4 inch by 5 1/4 inches. It's going to go on this side. This piece is 2 1/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and it will go on this side. So it's the opposite of this one, the smaller piece, the smaller piece, the larger piece, the larger piece. And then I have the peacock card. I trimmed, there was a blue border around this. I trimmed the entire thing off, and then I trimmed this piece so it measures 5 1/8 inch by just a little under 3 3/8 inch. And then I have a piece of my gold metallic cardstock. It measures 3 1/2 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to place these pieces here. And then I can place this card on here as well because there isn't going to be a magnet underneath of it. So I'm going to apply all of these, and then we'll come back and we'll finish with the belly band. So I'm finished now with this page. I'm not going to add anything else to it. I'm going to turn this sideways so it's easier to put this in frame. This is from the 8x8 papers. This piece measures 2 1/4 inches by 8 inches. And I'm just going to adhere this right to this belly band closure, and it's going to cover that magnet. Now that this paper is on, I'm going to go ahead and close my page, and the magnet will catch and hold everything together. I'm going to remove my washi tape from the second belly band. Next, I have a piece of the gold metallic, and it measures 2 1/4 by 8 inches. And then I have this, it's from the 8x8 papers, and it measures 2 inches by 7 3/4 inches. And I'm going to layer these up on this belly band. Now that those are adhered, I'm going to bring in my smaller belly band, and I'm going to add some adhesive to the top and to the bottom. And then I'm going to adhere this over top that paper right in the center. So now I have this second belly band here. I have another piece of the gold metallic cardstock, and this piece measures 1 1/4 inches by 8 inches. This piece measures 1 inch by 7 3/4 inch, and I'm going to layer these up here like this. So now we have the second belly band decorated. We're going to place some tags underneath of it. So I decided that my belly band just looked a little too plain for me, so I went ahead and cut this little card. It's from the 8x8 papers, and I backed it on metallic gold cardstock. It's 2 inches by 2 3/4. I rounded the corners. I stuck this in the center of the belly band and drew 2 lines. And now I'm going to just add my adhesive only on that section of the belly band where this card is going to go. And then I'm going to place this card right in the center of the belly band. Then I selected these 2 tags. I left them plain on the back. I tied 2 pieces of ribbon. They're 4 inches long, just tied them in knots. And I'm going to slide these under here like this. And I'm going to call that my finished page. So now we have the back side and the front side of page 3 finished. So in the next video, we will begin building page 4. And then we'll decorate page 4 after that. So don't forget, if you are just joining us and haven't been following along, if you would like to join and make this album, the Indigo paper is available from ScrapNCreate.com, and all of the paper that I'm using for the tutorial will be linked in the description box below.